All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm CJ Todd, and welcome to Breezy's HVAC Insider Series, where we bring you the most successful leaders in the HVAC industry to share their proven strategies and help you grow your HVAC business. I want to share a couple of housekeeping items for you today before we get started. It's important that you guys understand that we're recording today's session, and we're going to send that to you a little bit later today, a couple hours after we wrap up here. So that's going to give you the opportunity to really lean in to the event today, really get learning, get engaged, close your office doors, silence your cell phones. Let's really get active in the chat. So right now I'd love to hear, Josh is a huge Green Bay Packers fan, and we got a rough one coming up with the Eagles. Who's your favorite football team? Let's hear it in the chat right now. Yeah, okay, Bears. Nadine, you're gonna have to go home. I'm sorry.
CJ, that is a team member of mine, and she knows that's like a shiv in my side when she does that. Especially since the Bears beat us last week. That was humbling.
Yeah, for sure. We'll talk about these football teams a little bit later, but if you could please help us offering a little bit of feedback in the post-event survey, that would be awesome. And go down to your resources tab right now, right there at the bottom of the screen. You'll see resources. Click there, and you can download a free version of Bullseye's marketing automation guide. It's 10 steps to teach you how AI and automation can really help you grow your HVAC business and make sure some of those leads don't fall through the cracks. I want to give you a little bit of background on Breezy. Breezy is hard at work building a service titan alternative built solely for the HVAC, plumbing, and electrical industry, with the mission of eliminating the off-season. And how they do that, they're going to help you activate your existing customer database. They're going to help you with automations and AI tools like we're going to learn today, to really make the job as easy as possible and allow you to focus on what you do best, and that's creating a great customer experience and helping people with their comfort experience. Breezy is built on the guidance of some amazing advisors, hardcore operators like Weldon Long, Gary Elix, and today's guest that I'm really pumped about, Josh Crouch, who's going to teach us a ton. A little bit of intro to Josh. I'm sure you guys all know and love him. But I got to meet Josh probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and there's no one in the industry that's more dedicated to helping people. That's demonstrated through his HVAC podcast, Service Business Mastery. He's on there constantly just dropping value bombs and helping people grow. And his new AI and automation business, Bullseye Pro, is really changing the game. So if you guys have not subscribe to the Service Business Mastery podcast, please scan that QR code and follow him on Bullseye too. So without further ado, help me introduce the man, Josh Crouch.
Man, I always feel when I get introduced like that. I had a gentleman that introduced me one time, and I said, when I die, you're doing my eulogy, because it was like, ooh, I sound way more important than I think I am. So I appreciate that, CJ.
I'm glad
That's
I could
awesome,
hype you up, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So really, really happy to be here. Automation, AI, automation mainly because AI has only been around for 2 years now, but automation has been something that I have fallen in love with over the last 7 years, back from my time in the trades. So I'm super excited to share some of this stuff and try to help as many of you as possible start streamlining your operations, start closing more of the business that you already have at your fingertips. You just maybe need a little push or a little directional push to figure out how to do that. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So CJ mentioned a bunch of stuff. You guys can read this. So I think the most important piece and the piece that's most relevant is sometimes when we watch webinars or we get on these things, someone's selling you something and they're telling you what you need to be doing or you need and why you should do it. But I've actually been in your shoes. I've been in the contracting world since 2013. I've worked at 3 different HVAC companies in marketing operations, business development, sales, all residential contracting. The last place I was at, I was in charge of both marketing and operations, where I got good at both. And so every position except for technician, and I always share this joke because it is very true. This picture that I don't know if some of you guys can see behind me, there's a reason it doesn't hang on the wall and it sits there. And there's a reason the award that we have is down on the ground, because I need to hire someone to put it on the wall so I don't create too many holes. I'm not a technician, but I am really good at this stuff. And that's my value add for you guys. So while we go through this today, ask questions, please. If there's anything that's unclear to you, ask, because there are no dumb questions. They're just people that don't want to sound dumb or don't want to think other people to think they're dumb. There is no dumb question. So please ask away. All right. So we're going to start with a poll because we want to know, or at least I want to know, from a perspective of what is your biggest challenge. And it's okay if you don't know what the biggest challenge is. CJ just put up a poll on here. I'd love for you guys to fill this out and let me know what you think your biggest struggle is right now.
While we're waiting for those to come in, does anybody know who's starting quarterback for the Eagles this weekend? Because I'm
I mean,
hoping
as much
that's
as I'd like to beat the Eagles at full strength, I'm okay if Jalen's not playing this weekend. So
right.
Awesome. It
I'm
looks
gonna
like
end the
we
poll
have,
now. Looks
yeah, it
like
looks
a
like
lot of people
we have
voted.
a couple winners. You guys are going to be, so low booking rates, number one, lack of follow-ups, number two. You guys, I think, are really going to like what we have to share with you today based on that. So definitely stay tuned. We'll definitely be going over that in more detail. All right. So in order to understand the problem, we have to know how much these things are costing you. So there was a study done by SBE Odyssey, which is a coaching organization. It was built out of George, Brazil, here in Arizona, where I'm at, and huge company. They've been around. They were actually my first coaching company back in like 2014 through York. And so they did a study, but every missed call, delayed response, or abandoned chat is money left on the table. HVAC business can lose up to $10,000 a month from inefficiencies. And honestly, that depends on your size. The bigger you are, the bigger this number is. So where do your leads come from? I'd love for you guys to put this in the actual chat, because I know most people think all their leads come from like 1 to 3 sources, but I'd love to hear where your primary lead sources are right now. So if you guys could take a second, just put it in the chat, whatever that looks like. We've got referrals, Facebook ads, a lot of word of mouth, Google. I figured we'd see some Google direct mail. Okay, good. Thumbtack. All right, we got some different ones here. So awesome. That's great, guys. So obviously got them listed here. There are more. This is not a comprehensive list, but these are some of the more common ones that people refer to. Obviously, social media is missing on the slide, but social media is another big one. So when we break down marketing and we break down lead sources versus conversion sources, there's something that I want to share before I kind of go a little bit deeper. And this is because I had a lot of conversations about this recently. When you are tracking or attributing revenue inside of a platform like Breezy, or some of the ones that Breezy is a competitor to, a lot of times people put things like online booking as the marketing campaign, or they put things like that in their like form submission. I literally had an electrician that we had a long conversation with this week about this. The problem is that's not telling you anything about where you're spending your marketing dollars. That's just a conversion source. So these two things are separate. So I want you to think of them as separate things. We have the marketing channel first, then we have the conversion channel, and they're two completely separate things, but they obviously play well together. So this is, you guys have seen probably a lot of statistics over time about the problem when we don't have speed to lead solutions set up and how slow. And this is not just specific to contractors. All businesses have this issue, or at least all industries do. But it takes a long time for people to get back to one another. And the reason for it is one, understaffed. Two, there are multiple inboxes. We all those lead sources above, Google Business Profile, that's usually a phone call. Sometimes they fill out a form submission. There's online booking, there's website chat, Yelp inbox, Thumbtack inbox, Facebook DMs. There's all these places that all these leads can go to. So now somebody or multiple people have to manage all this stuff and try to communicate internally, and it's a mess. It's a nightmare. I used to be that person. Like, I would always have these tabs open on my screen at work because I had to answer all of these things all the time. And so when an email came in or something came in, I had to answer it. A home advisor lead came in, I literally had like preset text messages on my phone to send out to those leads because I knew speed to lead was so important. But a lot of times there's not somebody like myself internally at a company who's very hungry to grow and really wanted to go get it. So we have to leverage technology in order to help us with that. So this is an industry stat from, I believe it was ServiceTitan. ServiceTitan did a big study on a lot of data. So they have access to hundreds of thousands of calls and booking rates and things like that. And about 30% of calls go unanswered or abandoned, which is a big number. So every 100 calls on average, 30 of them are missed or abandoned. Let that sink in for a second. That's a lot of opportunity. And because we know it's roughly about 30%, so we're partnered with a company called Searchlight. If you guys don't know who Searchlight is, you should look them up. If for nothing else, then their Substack blog. That's where they write their blog, if you're not familiar with Substack. But they know for every 100 initial touch points, 35 of those on average, again, depends on your operations, 35 of those on average turn into paying customers. So if we look at for every 100 calls, on average 30 are missed or abandoned. If 35% of those are potential jobs, that's 10 to 11 jobs that are missed every single month. And that's just at 100 calls. I would venture to guess most of you probably get more than 100 calls on average because that's only like 3 a day. So if we put that out to a course and take that math out to the full 12 months, that's at least 180,000 in revenue. And again, that's only at a $1,500 average ticket. When with Searchlight, there's data that shows that those average tickets are generally quite a bit higher, like $2,600-$2,700 for most trades. So just things to think about to really make you understand that missed opportunities is hurting. It may not be you directly, but it most likely is hurting you whether you know it or not. So this next slide is just going to be an example. This is something that we just not going to give the company's name. It's someone that we've worked with because they came in and they had a really big problem with missed calls and booking rates. We can go to the next slide, CJ. So this was their stats before we implemented automation into their business. They're missing, like we said, about 30% of their calls. I don't know the exact number. We rounded up. And they only had about a 45% booking rate. So after we implemented the solutions and escalations and things internally, so that way they never miss these opportunities again, they had less than 10% calls being missed because they set up a system to make sure that those phone calls, if they were missed in one place, they went to another place. If they're missed there, they went to another place. So we always had somebody on the phone. Obviously, during busy season, sometimes you're still missing calls because nobody's available.
Josh,
But they up their booking rate. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, yeah, and maybe you were going to get to this next, but that booking rate jump looks incredible, and I'm sure that that's the reason why they generated an additional 250,000. Talk a little bit about that. That seems incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things one of the more important things is to make sure that there are backup and redundancy solutions to everything. And if I don't, I maybe should have taken a poll like the size companies that are on here, but if you're a 1 or 2 man shop, you're doing everything. So it's difficult. Like we've worked with clients that they are in the field, they're also answering the phone, and they have to try to do all this stuff. They have to step out of the basement of someone's house to go answer the phone or go answer a text message, and then they have to go back into the basement and try to get back into the diagnostic that they were doing. It's really challenging. But implementing some solutions, and not everything with the booking rate had to do with just automation. Some of this was leveraging technology like AI voice platforms, things like that, where you can help with booking calls and making sure every single phone call at least gets a human sounding, I'm not going to say human voice, a human sounding voice. So this company, I think Mark asked in the chat down there, was about $1 million company. So this, I mean, think about that. It's $1 million company added 25% revenue just by implementing automation and doing these things. They didn't have to spend a ton of money on marketing. And I think that's the really important piece, because I know, being in the marketing world, I know you all hate or dislike or have some sort of disdain for marketing agencies or just the entire industry of marketers. And I know why that is, and I totally get it, because I've been there. But just know there are solutions out there. You got to obviously kind of weed through some of the BS out there, but there's good people out there that want to help and actually have solutions that are going to help you grow your business. So next, we're going to talk about, really, now that we know and we've identified all of the problems or some of the problems that are really hindering home service businesses, we're going to talk about the customer journey and transforming it. So that way you have a journey where, one, you're proud of, and it actually enhances what you're doing. I think there's a misconception that automation, that AI, that it takes away from the human part of the journey. And to some degrees, you may be right, as far as like somebody like you specifically on your phone selling a job or texting someone to sell a job. That obviously takes away from the human component, but you can do that without ever having to actually sit down and take your time to do it. You can do the same exact thing. And AI and automation really, especially with AI now, it makes the automation even more powerful. So on the left, we have what we talked about these first, I don't know, 10, 12 slides, something like that. I don't know what slide number we're on. But we talked about slow responses, having to manually follow up, low booking rates, having to manually manage multiple inboxes. And what I'm assuming most of you, if you're on this call today, you want to be what we would consider like a supercharged business. The things that we can solve with technology are immediate responses, automated nurture sequence that don't end. They end when the customer opts out or says no. Outbounding extraordinarily quickly when we need work, which luckily right now, I think most of the country's cold. So if you're an HVAC, you're probably doing okay. But typically January is hit or miss. It's not always perfect as far as being busy. So I think right now we're kind of lucky that we had a cold snap after the holidays, because after the holidays, that lull sucks. It's the worst time of year for you and for us, because we get a lot of questions and we have to try to help and come up with some solutions for people. And not everyone's super happy, because they have to try to figure out why their schedule's not full and their guys aren't busy, especially trying to pay off all those credit card bills from Christmas and all the holidays. And then a supercharged business also obviously has high booking rates. So this is what we've seen of the ROI on automation or with automation. It obviously is different for everybody. It depends on the size of your company, but we do know, and this goes for my businesses as well as the ones that I've worked at in the trades. It plays a big role. We can make money back very quickly by adding in automation, because if we think about one use case, estimate follow-ups, we all know, we've all been told, we've all heard that the money is in the follow-up, right? And you got to get between like 7 and 12 touch points for like 80% or 70%. I don't remember the actual number, but that's where all the magic is following up. And most businesses don't. They follow up once, maybe twice, or they follow up when their schedule's dead and they have no other choice. They have to do something today. And that's the worst time to be doing it, because now you're desperate. And that desperation will come off in your messaging, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, it will come off in your messaging. And if we have an automated army that is always following up with the different things in our business, we shouldn't have those slow times that we experience throughout the year. Sorry, throat's getting a little dry. So I get this question a lot. What can you automate? And I would love to say the answer is everything. With some developer help, it probably can be everything. But these are some of the most common things that you can automate inside of your business. So review generation, you don't need to pay an expense thing. Breezy, I don't know if Breezy offers some. Breezy may have something where once a job gets closed, this automatically happens. You can respond to reviews automatically, and you can do it with, oh, Sean chimed in. We do. Perfect. So you're saving some money already with that. You can respond to reviews. We do this completely with AI, because it's not as difficult as people think it is to do this in this day and age. And you don't really need any fancy technology for that. You need Zapier and essentially know how to prompt a reply, and that's pretty much it. Missed and abandoned call text backs, form submissions, text back, web chat, Facebook lead text back, and that's for Facebook lead ads typically. And then AI conversational booking for all, which I think is something that probably here in 2025 will become the norm instead of just an outsider type thing. It'll be the norm, is that people will get used to. Customers won't know, because the AI will sound very human-like, and the responses and the empathy and everything. The one nice thing about having AI with any of this stuff is it's consistent. It doesn't take bathroom breaks, doesn't need days off, it doesn't get sick. It's there 24/7. So think about some of the main problems of keeping technicians in our space, or keeping, maybe your office team answers the phone after hours. Maybe you answer the phone after hours. I did that. I hated it, literally hated it. I'd be sitting at dinner, get pulled away, and then by the time I got back from the phone call, my family's done with dinner, and I'm sitting there by myself with a cold plate of food in front of me. Or you're getting those text messages or pings on your phone at 1 o'clock in the morning, and you always have to keep your phone on because you have to answer it. Somebody does. So those things are really challenging. But this stuff can all be automated.
Josh, I think the biggest feedback talking to contractors that I've gotten, over, the last couple of years, has been kind of the unawareness or the concern or kind of the just question behind, is this going to take over? Like if I set an automation or an AI tool out into the marketplace, like, is it going to go off the rails and cause some sort of hiccup or, blemish on my business? And I think what I've always tried to express is that, like, the AI and the automation is only as good as the person operating it. So, like, what's your experience with that? How do you kind of navigate that concern in the industry?
Yeah, we've tested several AI tools for helping with replies. Some are like, you put a massive prompt with all the business information. It didn't work well. And essentially what we really want to do is get to the point of objectives. So think about like a phone call. If you guys have heard people from like Power Selling Pros or Synergy Learning Systems, or any of these companies that really train on how your CSR should take the phone call, there's a flow to every single phone call. There's always an objective. Get your first name and last name, get your address. There's objectives. And some of the bot technology that I have seen work the best is where it follows the same pattern, where we have a very small prompt, but it has an objective. So the AI knows my objective is to get their email address before I move on to getting their phone number, before moving on to trying to book an appointment. And that's where I've seen the most success with technology like that. A massive prompt. I think sometimes less is more with the AI. The AI stuff is way smarter than we think. I think we think sometimes we have to over prompt these things because you've maybe seen a video or someone post about this super exciting, long, detailed prompt. A lot of times you just need to have a conversation with it and treat it like an employee and just be clear about what you want and let it do its thing. And it comes out with some really great stuff. For instance, the flow of this webinar was helped with AI. I would have probably put this out of order myself, but I knew what I wanted it to do, and I knew what slides and what information I wanted. So I gave it that, and I said, hey, please lay this out in a way that kind of tells a story and it builds on itself. And it allowed me to do this much faster than I would have done it myself. I love it. Sean put I did see that you guys either launched that recently, Sean, the Breezy AI CSR. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that you guys are building that into your platform. I think that's awesome. So we weren't done with what we can automate. I know we got talking about some other stuff, but there's a lot more. And this, again, not a comprehensive list, but estimate follow-ups, we talked about that already. Membership nurture, meaning if a customer gets a membership from you, which I know Breezy is really focused on memberships, you can nurture that customer over time to make sure you're always in front of them without having to manually call them or manually text them or whatever that looks like. 12-month after service nurture essentially means after they get any service done by you, you automatically have a sequence for the next 12 months to keep them engaged. Send them an email, send them a text, check in on them, see how their system's doing, things like that. Pre-sale membership before visit, essentially sending a text message that says, hey, just remember, this is just a reminder, we're on the way. Ask your tech about how you can save 10% on today's call. Pre-sell the membership, because we all know technicians love to sell, and hopefully I get some smiles, even though I can't see you, from people that are like, oh, no, they don't. So hopefully that's the case. Job cancel, re-engage. Anyone that books on your schedule and cancels the appointment, check in with them at a certain point in time and try to re-engage that appointment, see if maybe they got the system taken care of. Because a lot of times people just get busy and then they forget to reschedule, or just not big enough problem for them to put on their calendar. Repurpose reviews of social media. This is one that I've been doing. There's a much better ways of doing this now than back in like 2019 when I was doing this at Professional Services. But anytime we got a 5-star review on Google, because everyone always wants reviews on Google, right? Google. The problem is today's marketplace, customers, if you guys looked at the chat, there's a lot of places for customers to look for you. And we want to show up with our pristine reputation in all of those places. So the easiest way to do that is to take all those 5-star Google reviews that you get and automatically blast them out everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, whatever Twitter's called these days. I can't bring myself to call X. I don't know, maybe you guys can, but LinkedIn, anywhere, especially if you do some commercial jobs. LinkedIn's a great place for you to get that 5-star reputation out there, because even if people don't engage, they don't like, I think the biggest thing is people post on social like, well, nobody likes my stuff, nobody's commenting. They're still seeing it. There's still a couple hundred people that see that stuff regularly. They're like, man, you guys are just killing it. You got 5-star reviews all the time. And that stuff is great to automate because it's a pain to kind of put together regularly. And then the last thing that I want to mention on here is LSA message leads text back. I know LSA message leads are not something contractors really love. Here's what I do know. It helps. Having them on helps with ranking if you answer quickly. I do know the leads are generally more spotty as far as if they really want service. They might be just checking for price and stuff. So there's a give and take there, but we can automate the message back and forth. So that way you don't have to sit there and like, as soon as your phone dings, answer the message and then stop what you were doing.
As the social media guy, that repurpose reviews to social media is huge to me, because I remember it was about 4 years ago, I was helping my brother run his solar business, and he was using House Call Pro, and you had to like configure how, like, what percentage you wanted to go to Google and what percentage you wanted to go to Facebook. And I was like, oh man, I wish there was something that I could just post it everywhere. So now with AI and with Josh's help, like that's a reality. It's
Yeah,
pretty
and it's
cool.
not, it's not only social media. That's it's not only reviews. Like that's the thing we talked about here because that's probably the most important. But think of, let's say you're working with a marketing company and they post blogs for you. We can, this is not planned, so I'm going to kind of go off rails here a little bit, but um, there's something called an RSS feed on your website. Every website has it, so no matter who, if it's on WordPress, Dudo, Wix, Squarespace, it doesn't matter where it is. Every website has an RSS feed. But once that blog is made, you can then run that through. You can either take that and just automatically post it to social just as is, or you can run it through a Chat GPT prompt, have it tidied up for every single social media platform. And now you're repurposing your content in all of these places. So you're not only repurposing reviews, you're repurposing your blog posts. You can do the same thing with video content. There's a tool out there called Cast Magic that if you have to have either an audio file or like this, a video file. And this is what my team does. And this is what for Tersh and my podcast, we take it, we upload our recording, and it spits out like 30 different pieces of content. And I'm not joking when I say 30, it's not an exaggeration. Like literally anything and everything that you would ever want to do with it will come up with, and have all this stuff where you can just copy paste. You still got to do some stuff with design and putting pictures and stuff on all social medias, but the content is there, and it takes it and formats it for what works best for that specific platform. So that's the kind of stuff that I think contractors, and this is why I'm bringing it up and kind of going off the rails here. There's just so many things that get done. Instead of having it done one time, take that one thing that you already pay for somebody to do for you and have it do multiple things for you, because that's where customers find you everywhere. I don't know what's happening with TikTok, where I guess we're going to find out in about 9 days. But outside of that platform, people find you. There's people that find you on Instagram. There's people that find you on Facebook. There's people that find you on LinkedIn. There's just, you have to be multi-channel all the time. And I think that's one of the things is, as a contracting, in the contracting world and the marketing world, all everybody ever talks about is Google. Google, Google, Google. It's like everything. But the landscape is shifting even more. We have ChatGPT, we have Perplexity, Google Gemini is starting to be more AI overview focused. Like you have to be everywhere so you can capture customers where they're at, not where you want them to be. Jim, great question. So you can do that, but then that's manual. He asked, how do you repurpose Google reviews, post a screenshot of the Google review on other sites? So there's a software called Zapier. And the easiest way to think about what Zapier is Zapier is a bridge. So think of, let's say, Breezy CRM. Something happens over here. That's called a trigger. That starts the whole sequence. That connects through Zapier to Facebook or to Instagram or wherever you want it to go, and can automatically take this thing and move it to this other thing. That's really how it happens. So if a new Google review would be the trigger, and then you can connect your other platforms and send that stuff out. And if you really want to get in the weeds, you would add ChatGPT in the middle of that, and then you would give it a prompt to put it, create a Facebook post, create an Instagram post, etc. So it's more relevant to that platform. And you can give it the content or the context of the review, so that way you can do it. And you can do the same thing with answering reviews. You can use Zapier as when a new review comes in, that's the trigger. And then you can automate the next step to use ChatGPT, give it a prompt. Here's the review that the person left. Please write me a reply. And then you can, the action step or the last step would be post this reply to this review. So that's how you do that. Great question. I'm glad that was helpful. I helped one person today. I feel good about myself. So thank you, Jim. But does it work for my business? It's kind of an obvious question, but it's one of those things that I don't know what it is about. And I just say the trades because that's what I think of. Like, I see, you guys probably see those posts if you're on any Facebook groups. Oh, that doesn't work for me. That doesn't work in my market. And I promise you this stuff works. We have done this with clients all over the US. We even have some clients in Canada. There are some things that you have to know from a phone carrier regulation to be able to a phone carrier regulation perspective in order to send out SMS, but that's all stuff that people like us help with, or platforms that are out there help with, is help you get approved, and then we can start automating some of these things. So one of the biggest things, my business is too small, and honestly, the smaller businesses need this more, because you are wearing an extraordinary amount of hats. And you don't have a specific person that's literally sitting in an office, and as soon as something comes in, their job is to answer it, whether it's a text, a form, etc. So you need it more than anyone.
And forget about the content part of that. Like, you're small business, you're swamped with just operations and day to day. So that whole other element of like what a marketing agency would do for you, you could have robots and automations doing that behind the scenes.
Absolutely. So this is another objective. It's always, it comes back to cost. And, I'm reading a book called Who Not How right now. I would highly recommend it for anyone that, any business owner really. So if any of you guys have read it, you probably know this. It's a great book, Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy. But what they said in there is that a lot of procrastination is wisdom. It sounds really odd hearing that. And I read that in the book, and I had to read it like 3 times. I'm like, what are they talking about? But what they mean is procrastination is your internal system telling you that you are not the right who to solve that problem. You need to hire or find a who, or like a vendor or partner to help you with those things. And you can look at that one of 2 ways. You can look at it as a cost, or you can look at it as an investment. And people that look at it as a cost typically are going to stay smaller. It's just the fact of the world. If you always look at everything as it's a cost, it costs. It does cost money, but it is an investment to get you closer to the goals that you want to have in your life and in your business. So it's almost, to me, having automation, these systems in place, it's an investment, because it's our company. We automate a lot of stuff that's not even in the realm of marketing and automation. It's systems, processes, operations, a lot of different stuff that you can do once you get into this world. And I don't have time. I mean, I don't know about most of you. It's very hard to have time to do all this stuff, especially to learn a new skill. And that's what I was just saying with who not how. It's, in my opinion, and by all means, if you want to learn this stuff because you nerd out on it like I had in the past, do it. But for me, and what I've learned and what's helped me grow, especially since I started owning my own business and got out of the contracting space, was delegating to other people that knew more, that could get me there faster. And that investment has allowed us to grow. Our company was on the Inc. 5000 list as the 217th fastest growing privately held company last year. And it's because we're delegating, we're moving and hiring partners to help us with things like this. So this is all something that we can set up for you. We can go to the next one. I don't think I have any notes on that one. So this is a little bit of a sidebar, but it is very relevant to being January and the new year. So I think we're going to stop share and share a different screen, right, CJ? You're muted if you're trying to talk. Okay, perfect. You got it. Cool. So I mentioned AI is awesome, right? So I'm not a coder. I'm not a developer. I have no idea even where to start with any of that stuff. But this is actually a tool that I created by giving prompts, ironically enough. So there's developer AI tools out there. So when I was thinking about the end of the year and the things that contractors struggle with, I wanted to come up with something that helps them not only understand how their business is currently performing and what their current metrics are, and then also what some guidelines or benchmarks for what solid HVAC, plumbing, electrical companies operate at. I wanted to have it where there was also, if you want to scroll down just a little bit, CJ, I want contractors to understand their seasonality. Every business, even though plumbing and electric are much more stable, have seasonality. That seasonality may be the time between November and December. But when you look at your goals, you look at your marketing spend, you are trying to forecast how your business can operate and grow, you have to know, like, let's say we're $1 million company, we want to grow to $1.5 million this year. What does that look like? So we're in January. If I was 1 million last January and I did 60,000 in revenue, in order to get to 1.5 million, I probably need to be like 70, 80, 90,000. And what does that look like from a marketing spend perspective? And that's what this tool helps with. We don't have enough time today to go over like filling this all out. I'm probably going to do, if any of you guys are connected with me on social media or anything, I'll probably do a video literally giving an example of how this all works. But the last part is just a little bit lower, CJ, the conversion rate simulator.
Josh, if you want to record that and send it to me, I can get it out to everybody that's on
Yeah.
the.
Yeah. So this is something that's kind of near and dear to my heart because I have a lot of conversations with people about this. And everyone's always like, oh, marketing. It's always, it's either the marketing company's fault or the leads aren't good enough or anything else. And a lot of times, some of that may be true. There are companies that are not great out there, but a lot of times there are things that we can control and you can own yourself. And what is that? That's your booking rate. That's your text conversion rate, and that's your average ticket. Those are all things that are within your team's control, and you can own that process, and you can get better with companies like a Synergy Learning Systems or a Power Selling Pros or something like that. But in order, you have to know the numbers first to be able to take and make changes to your business. And what this simulator does is the top section where it had like total calls, total jobs, total revenue, all that stuff, that's coming up with some basic math for you. So it's going to give you your booking rate. It's going to give you your tech conversion rate. It's going to give you your average ticket. From there, those numbers, when you fill that out, drop down to this section right here. So now you can see, let's say we're at a booking rate of 60%. We want to get to 65 this year. That's our goal. What does that mean for my bottom line revenue? If I take my tech conversion rate from 55% to 60, what does that mean? If I take my average ticket from 1,500 to 1,750, what does that mean? And it charts a clear path of, wow, I don't have to spend another dollar on marketing, and I can add this much money to my bottom line just by taking care of the things that I can personally control in my company. And there's power in that because then you're not held hostage by any marketing company. You are in the driver's seat and you are driving the bus on the three main KPIs that are going to drive your overall revenue forward. So that's the focus of this. It's not really anything to do with marketing automation. It's cool that you can create AI tools like this. The place I created this, if you guys want to take this away, is Bolt, BOLT.new. I think you have to have a GitHub account, which you may probably never heard of that if you're not in this world, but it's free. You don't have to pay anything. I don't pay anything. And all you do is you give it a prompt. So other things that we've created that I think could be really cool for you, an air duct cleaning calculator as far as giving a price to a customer. This stuff can live on your website. As you guys see in the thing, it's a subdomain on my website. I've created an online pricing tool for HVAC systems replacements, created a marketing, like a marketing, trying to think what it's called, like a marketing growth calculator. It's a little bit different than this, but you can create whatever is in your brain, write it down, see if it can create it. And then you just tweak it. It took me a few hours to get this perfect, but I also wanted to add some complicated things into it. But there is a lot of opportunity for you to create some cool stuff for your company, whether it's internal or external, and then put it on your website.
That's awesome. Thanks, Josh. I'm going to switch back over to the slides. And we're going to get into a Q&A session pretty soon. So if you guys want to start typing some chats, some questions into the chat, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, Ernest asked Bolt what? It's Bolt.new, N-E-W. I put the link in the chat below. Mark asked, can you explain what giving a prompt to software is? So a prompt, it sounds complicated. Think about it like explaining what you want to happen to maybe a more entry-level employee. So explain the outcome and explain any other details that they need to be able to accomplish that outcome. That would be what I would consider a good prompt. So a prompt sounds, because it's a word that until the last 2 years, we haven't really used the word prompt a whole lot, I don't think. And now it's used all the time. It's just giving the AI tools like ChatGPT or Claude information so they can help you. And that's really all it's doing. I don't know whose name, the LB says, how much does it cost to have you all set up the automation for us? So I think on the next slide is our landing page for Bullseye Pro. So Bullseye Pro is the name of our software that we have put together over the last couple years. And we're really focused on getting this out to our non-marketing program clients. So anyone, doesn't matter who your marketing company is, doesn't matter what your situation is. If you go to that link, there is a pricing tab at the top of that site. So you can click on there. It will also show like what we do, what you get, and stuff like that with that link.
Cool. And you got a 14-day free trial on there, right?
Yeah, there is a 14-day free trial. And so with the software, and I think this is some of the biggest pain points that people have with software, and we all know some of the big players in the space, is they have their onboarding. It gives you like the bare bones of what you need. And then it's kind of like, well, you're on your own. Like, here's some help articles, go hire a consultant and figure it out. With that in mind, because we come from the trades, because I know this stuff is not easy to always set up yourself. And some of the hardest part is coming up with the ideas. Like some of the ideas I shared today that were not on the slides, coming up with those ideas is difficult because you just don't know what is possible. So that's where our team holds your hand. We not only do an onboarding call, we do multiple trainings after that to make sure your team is adopting the technology, it's using it. We start running your first couple campaigns, and then we have a weekly Q&A session where you can come and ask any questions. It's like an open office hours type of thing, and you can ask any questions that you have every week. If you want to be the one in there every week, you can show up every week and ask your questions, or just get your questions answered when you need them.
That's awesome. Thanks, Josh. I want to just kind of get the Q&A kicked off. What's your favorite automation to implement into a new business? Or maybe it's the first one you do when you're onboarding a new client, but like, is there one that you're really seeing a lot of growth opportunities with, something that's like definitely needs to be implemented at every business?
Yeah, I would say, I don't know if I don't have any numbers to back this up, but the things that I think are the most impactful early on are, think of every lead source that comes in and automating the initial outreach, and also bringing all those leads into one joint centralized inbox. I think that's some of the biggest things it can do. It's a really basic one, but I don't think people don't realize how many missed calls there are. We have a call tagging team at our company. We know how many missed calls there are. There's a lot. We literally listen to the calls and we'll put together that data for clients because it's a problem. And people don't realize how much of a problem it is until they actually have the data staring at them in the face. Because you're busy, calls are coming in, you're just taking care of whoever's on the schedule, and you're trying to take care of your employees, your suppliers, and learn new software. And it's difficult to really know that those problems exist. So that's a big one. And then I would say the other one is estimate follow-up. I think it's vastly overlooked. And even some of the softwares out there that are pretty, like, really good at like the presentation part of it, like On-Call Air is a beautiful presentation software for estimates, system replacements specifically. But the follow-ups are extraordinarily generic. Hey, did you have a chance to look at that estimate? It's like just you want to educate. Like, after you give an estimate, after you give some sort of sales presentation, you want to continue to educate. And you already should probably know the pain points of your customers. Continue to remind them of how your solution solves their pain point, and I promise you to close more deals. So those are a couple of my favorite ones, because those are like the ones that usually make the biggest impact from a revenue perspective.
Yeah, I love that.
So
Did you want to?
Victor?
Yeah,
Yeah,
talk
Victor's.
talk about Victor.
Yeah. So Victor, yes, you have pipe drive with a few automations for specific stages on. I'm assuming you have like, it's like a pipeline feature. Yes, Bullseye Pro can do that. So if something happens, it can move. There's a pipeline feature. And then once somebody gets to a certain stage or your team moves them to a certain stage, that can trigger the next automation or the next message or internal notification or whatever you want it to be, that can be triggered.
Talk about a little bit, Josh, how you integrate with like CRMs or field management software to make everybody's life a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's kind of like the heavy lift from this side on the software development side is always making sure that the API endpoints or Zapier endpoints match up. But those are all things. So there's really most softwares do have those endpoints. There's a few out in the space like Field Edge. If any of you are on Field Edge, well, don't tell anyone. I don't know anyone at Field Edge. Get off of it, please. It doesn't have any endpoints, and they have no. I've been on with support. They don't want to give that to people for some reason. Get on with a software like Breezy, where they have a team that builds this stuff out and wants to build this stuff out. I think that's the big thing is they actually want to make your life easier, not more difficult. And but for me, that's anytime I look at software and I'm making an investment in software for our business, I almost always go to Zapier.com and I do the search bar and I'm like, hey, what can I automate? What can I integrate with this? And if there's not a native integration, the next search I do is the name of the software. In this case, it would be like Breezy API docs and see if there's anything I can do, because then I know I can hire people or have our team build stuff out. And that's really my focus, is to always make sure that our software can talk to one another. So that way, for instance, like onboarding for a new client for us, it's a 20-step zap. Means there are 20 different things that automatically happen when somebody signs a proposal. So one trigger automates 20 different things that somebody else would have to do manually. And so, but all the softwares we use have to be connected with that. Otherwise it wouldn't work. So that's the important thing when we look at software, is to make sure that those things are possible.
How close are we to a Josh Crouch and Tersh Blissett AI generated podcast? Like, will you have an avatar?
It's funny. We started, Tersh and I, until this last year, we decided we wanted to make caricatures of ourselves. And then I started working out. So Tersh made my caricature, and the first version of it, I saw it and I'm like, Tersh, can you bulk mine up a little bit? Like, I think I'm looking a little too thin. I want to look a little bit, but then we started putting these caricatures out, and then by far and away, the feedback is like, oh, you guys need bobbleheads now.
Yes. I would put one on my desk.
Yeah, I wouldn't, but that's okay. I don't want to see myself that often. I don't want to see Tersh anymore than I have to. I have to see him next week in Colorado. So, but as far as the, it's interesting because I think Google has the Notebook LLM thing, which can like generate podcasts from like a document or something. I don't know. There's going to be, it's an interesting world. I will say one thing, and this is just, got a lot of business owners on here. I get this CEO newsletter every day. It's in the afternoon, later evening. One thing that I thought was really interesting and maybe slightly scary, and I don't want to scare anyone, but they did some big survey, and 41% of CEOs said by 2030 they plan on reducing their workforce, and that's because of technology. So now, for me, when we implement technology, I'm always looking to reallocate the team we have to something else. But I also realize not everyone's like that. But you just have to be mindful, because if these businesses are that much more efficient than you, your prices are going to have to be higher than theirs to compete. So it's just, you have to pay attention to this stuff as a business owner. And that's why being a business owner is not for everyone. And it's not easy, because you have to look at a lot of different things to make decisions.
Yeah, I heard a good quote that said, AI isn't going to replace employees. Employees that can power AI are going to replace employees that can't use AI.
So I had someone on my team. We were doing we're putting together scripts for some stuff for role playing and our team to practice and stuff, which you guys should all be doing. If you're not, like, you should all be practicing with your team on how to handle calls and objections and stuff. But that's a whole different topic. And he was telling me about how he helps with emails, and he wanted to actually come up with like an objection GPT for our client success managers. So that way, everything that we've loaded, they can easily like pull it up, ask a question, and get help. So that way you're not sitting on a call and stumbling and don't know what to say and what solutions we offer for clients. And it also allows us to train our team up more effectively and more quickly so we can keep growing. So yeah, there's a lot of use cases for this stuff. This is like a total sidebar because I think at some point Tersh and I are going to do an AI and automation thing with you guys, but if not, we have a community, a course that will teach you how to start doing some of the things that we talked about today. So I don't know, I don't have a link handy, but we can talk about that or extend it out.
Yeah.
Who said that?
You shoot it to me and I'll
device?
put it in the follow-up emails that I send out. I'll send it along with the recording.
Yeah. Who said the Plod device? I can't see the name.
Chris Plunkett.
Chris, my man, I don't have mine with me. It's in the other room. Plod devices, if you don't know, it's like, so you guys have all seen like the Read AIs, the Fathom note takers, or we use Fathom in our company. You have Plod can attach with a magnet on the back of your phone, or they have wearables like a watch. All you got to do if you ever want to have, if you're having a great business conversation and you want to record it so you can go back to the notes later, you can. And then what it does is it puts together like a mind map. It takes the transcription and puts everything into buckets so you can use that for later. It's fantastic. So if you take a lot of phone calls and you want to be able to record those, you can, and then have those back. So that way you never miss any notes or anything that you have.
Incredible. I've been sleeping on getting one, so I'm definitely going to get one after today's conversation.
And Chris, you're right, but this is being recorded, so I don't have to worry about it.
Right on. Well, we're coming up on the hour, Josh. Is there anything that you want to leave our audience with?
The biggest thing that I try to give when any presentation we talk about AI and automation is don't put your head in the sand. Start blocking off, even if it's 15 minutes a week right now, to just learn one new skill a week or try one new thing out, because this stuff is not going to stop no matter what we think about it or what our own biases are on it. It's not going anywhere. It's only going to get more powerful. If we learn to leverage it and how to use it, you stay in the driver's seat. If you don't and it gets away from you, other companies will, your competitors will, and then you will fall behind. So whether you like that or not, that's the truth. So this is back in like the .com days. The people that got on Google early were early winners. This is very similar, except it's moving at light speed versus like F-16 speed.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Josh. I'm really looking forward to having you and Tersh back on to talk about a more just general AI stuff. So thanks a bunch.
Thanks, guys.
I just want to talk to you guys real quick before we head out. I want to mention that Breezy is going to be fully integrated with Josh's Bullseye Pro product. And, we're pushing the boundaries on what's doable and capable and achievable through a CRM. Like I said before, Breezy has an incredible group of advisors that really pour all of their expertise, hundreds and hundreds of years of combined expertise into our product and features and understanding, how to help the actual contractor grow, not just something that we think is going to work. It's something that's been battle tested. It's something that, multiple operators are doing to actually make an impact in their businesses. So if you wouldn't mind, scan that QR code or click the link in the chat to schedule a demo with Breezy today. And next guest coming up is Mr. Weldon Long. He's going to talk about his experience growing his HVAC business in Colorado Springs from 0 to $42 million in just 5 years, and his experience with just recently selling it to private equity. So if you're kind of interested in understanding what metrics to align with to make your business, appealing to private equity buyers, or you just want to create, some generational wealth with a really incredible business, private equity is really setting the standard for what a successful HVAC business is within the marketplace. And, he's got some really great insights into aligning